Hi, my name is Xavier. I'm a current student at Sierra College, currently enrolled in public speaking, and today I will be doing a persuasive speech regarding patriotism along with Colin Kaepernick's national anthem protest. For the speech, obviously, just like last time, my Sierra College ID card and then my flashcards that I will be using for this speech as well. Going around the room, I thought it was only appropriate to have the same audience from last time since it is around the same topic of Colin Kaepernick and his national anthem protest. So if you can pan around, obviously my girlfriend Jaden, best friend Eric, my brother Chris, my mother Christine, and then behind the camera is my father Freddie once again. So we're going to talk about the real definition of patriotism. So according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, patriotism is defined as one's devotion and love to their country. This value and meaning of patriotism is what defines today and how we view America as a whole. The past principles and beliefs of America when it was first founded is founded upon patriotism. It was founded on revolution, it was founded on protest, it was founded on fighting for freedom and America's independence. Now we can say that we benefited from this because obviously we're free, we're independent. But for some, there is still no progress in the whole civil rights fight and any other inequalities for minorities. So Colin Kaepernick's protest is a prime example of patriotism because he's doing this protest out of the love for his country and how he wants everybody to be equal. Found this very impactful graphic to me, as that is the major narrative of America's view on Colin Kaepernick's national anthem protest. With every protest, though, there has to be a negative cause to have the protest happen. The national anthem protest is the cause of the 2016 deaths of unarmed black men, which was happening very consistently throughout the year 2016. It all stems from the same civil rights and issues that have been fought on in the past. I think it's pretty much fair to say that Colin Kaepernick and Martin Luther King are very, very similar in their campaign for inequality and justice for the African American people. We can go back to the time, way back in the civil rights era. Time magazine did a great article on Martin Luther King and then also mentioned Rosa Parks, obviously her famous incident with the bus and how she wanted to challenge the racial seating chart of a public bus. She refused to move from the front seat for a white man because she was a little bit on the older side. She wanted to sit down in the front to be able to get off, and there's nothing wrong with that. But due to the racial profile and stereotype, they tried to force her to move to the back. Time magazine then went on to go ahead and talk about how Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks developed a bus boycott. They formed a carpool association to boycott the buses and the public transportation, and it hurt America's transportation industry dramatically. And white America was very, very upset about this. Very, very upset. They found both of themselves in jail. Martin Luther King jailed a lot longer than Rosa Parks. But Martin Luther King's home was also destroyed. It was Molotov cocktail. It was destroyed, but he continued to peacefully protest for inequalities. That's why I can say that it's very comparative to Colin Kaepernick's peaceful protest, because no matter through what adversity they go through, they still go ahead and they fight for what they believe in. Granted, Colin Kaepernick wasn't jailed, and his home obviously wasn't destroyed, but he's unofficially banned from the league that he wants to play in, and his image has been impacted negatively and positively, but more on the negative side of things. But how can we change this narrative? How can we change that the national anthem protest is not about being unpatriotic? It's about this. It's about this in the civil rights time, and then this happening in the current now. The way we can do it, the way that we can change this narrative is that for the people in this room and the people who are watching this speech, we have to keep our minds open and remain educated on the history of the past. We have to embrace that history does repeat itself, as I believe I mentioned that in my last speech. It's a very, very important thing. We must provide that awareness, and we must provide clarification to those who remain in denial about this issue. Police brutality is a real thing, and abuse of power is a real thing. And the first turn, or the first step, so to say, to change that is acceptance, and accepting that police brutality happens to the minority class more often than the majority. USA Today provided a very interesting article on how they can limit racism and how they can limit police brutality. There's actually two that I found that were most interesting. The first one is our own personal journalism. If these incidents are happening in our community, it's happening in our city, it's happening to people that we know and love, we can improve our personal journalism to bring awareness to the issue at hand and help change things for the better, either by peacefully protesting or just writing about it on Facebook, writing about it on Twitter, just to bring more awareness that this stuff is happening. And then another one that I believe was very, very knowledgeable to me is that learning how racism is structured in America. Learning how racism is integrated into the police force. Learning how racism is integrated into politics. Learning how racism is integrated into the military, corporate America, and everything. Racism was stemmed it's been, for over 400 years of slavery, racism has been a hot topic and it still is today. Now, it's been refueled thanks to our current president, the current Republican Party and media and things of that nature. Racism is now at a height where it hasn't been in the past couple of years. So learning the structural racism and providing personal journalism on those issues at hand pretty much prove the fact that that's the definition of patriotism. You are showing your love and devotion to the country and you want to make it better. You want to make it equal for every man, woman, and child that lives here. Now, this feat is almost impossible. It really is. Everybody has their own negative opinions. Everybody has their own values and beliefs. But like the Golden State Warriors slogan is that it's strength in numbers. And that is very much true in today's situation. Can you just imagine not having to log on to Twitter or Facebook or go on the news where you just turn on the news and not see a police brutality incident on an unarmed black man? Can you imagine not being able to see that? For the people who are watching this speech who absolutely hate the national anthem protest and hate Colin Kaepernick for all of his worth, imagine not seeing anything about the national anthem protest anymore. And then you can get back to the sport that you so love, and I so love, and people in this room love. Just imagine not being able to see that anymore, and imagine not having to see more and more innocent minority African Americans gunned down in the streets. Martin Luther King said it best: when our lives begin to end the day, we become silent about things that matter. And this protest and the real reason behind it is what matters. It's not about having to disrespect the military or things of that nature. It's about police brutality on the minorities in this country, because that's what matters, and it's very, very prevalent nowadays. And this protest can even be related to our founding fathers. Obviously, this is a picture of the Boston Tea Party, which obviously is not, it may not be the best representation, but it was events like this, which may not have been a peaceful protest, but it was events like this when they fought up against the British to get their independence and their freedom. This type of situation gave Colin Kaepernick the platform to protest the national anthem, fighting for their freedom. And fighting for their freedom, equality, and independence from the shackles of Great Britain. And you can say that the African Americans are also fighting against the shackles of former past slavery principles. Now, there's still negative media around the national anthem protests, unfortunately. What I'm asking is no easy feat. CBS Sports did a poll about Colin Kaepernick's national anthem protest when it happened, and 72% of Americans found it unpatriotic. But I'm here to say that it really isn't. It's actually the most patriotic thing you can do, because this country was founded on protests and revolutions and fighting for what is right. Colin was exercising his God-given right as an American citizen to protest and fight for what he believes in. So I ask everyone in this room, I'm asking everybody who's watching this speech right now, is to drop your opinions about Colin Kaepernick, but drop your opinions if you're on this side, drop your opinions if you're against him. Just imagine if you were in his shoes and the amount of scrutiny he's been through and the amount of negativity he's been through. Would it be worth it if you knew that you had a hand in helping end racism and police brutality? or help limit it to a point where it's not a social issue anymore. You're living a better life for the things that Colin Kaepernick has done, and him and his people and other people like him will continue to fight for that situation for as long as history goes on in the human race. Maybe it will never come to an end, but they can't go down and say that they didn't try.